good morning, everybody. This is Susan and Marianne
Hello.
from My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, and we want to welcome you to Featherweight Club this month. Sorry, starting out great. You might notice that Suzanne is not here. She is at a quilting retreat in southern Utah, so she sends you her best, and she promised to bring the things she was working on next month so that she can show you. And she did take at least 2 of her featherweights down there with her. So we're really looking forward to seeing what she makes. And it looks like we've got a lot of people on here. Patty, Marilyn, Gina, Holly, Ellen, all of you, thank you so much for coming. If you've watched this in the last few months, you know that I don't have a whole lot of experience with featherweights, but Marianne is an expert, and she's going to show us a lot of fun things, including some really special things to do with a special foot for your featherweight. But the first thing I want to do is ask all of you and Marianne for some help. When I moved here 4 years ago, I had a friend who collected featherweights, and she asked me, hey, do you want this? And I'm going, sure. So I bought this featherweight from her. She had bought it off of Etsy.
Okay.
So all I know about it is I looked up its birthday, and it's 1948, and it was made in America. But I know it has a new cord, and I know it has a new motor, and Marianne's getting it out for me because I have questions.
Okay, Jess, you're going to have to help me.
Okay. The case needs some re-gluing. But here. She's very pretty and shiny. I think we can just do this without the case.
Yep. Okay, a couple of things. First of all, notice that this type of a case is a little bit different than some of the ones that you have out there. Notice that there's a place right here for the box or for the bag of your attachments. This little line right here is for your bobbins. They just slide right in the side.
What box?
This one right here is for the box for your feet, the green box. It has all of the feet in it.
That did not come with mine. Okay, so it's going to hold the little plastic bag with the feet.
There you go. And for me, it's everything that I need to take to a class. So bobbins here. This little thing right here is actually for your can of oil, which doesn't really exist anymore. If you do have one of those, put it on your shelf as a memento, but do not use the oil in it. And then it has a nice area down here just to fit your featherweight. Up here, you'll notice that we have the foot, and it has its own carrier. I really like this case because we're going to talk about feet a little bit later, but make sure you use the carrier. It just slides out from the side, and that's it. So I'm going to set this aside while Susan sets up her beauty.
And actually, because I've only sewed on this once, we're going to be sewing on Marianne's featherweight, but I have questions.
Okay,
and I hope you all will help me. Okay, let's turn her around so you can see her. Why are all sewing machines girls? Seriously. That wasn't a real question, but if anybody knows. Okay, let's start from the beginning. I set this up, and it did sew. The tension was off a little bit, and I played with the tension because when I was a kid, my mother's sewing machine, look, it wasn't a featherweight, but it had this same kind of tension. But the tension was screwy, so I know I need to play with that. But this came with a needle in it.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of needles I should use in it. Are there special Singer featherweight needles? Can I use?
Do you know, you can use almost any universal needle. I prefer the Schmetz universal. Keep in mind though that as you start to explore different needles, if you're having trouble with a certain type, especially the less expensive type, they're not made very well, and the eye is not punched perfectly, and it tends to shred the thread. So keep track of what type of needle you're using and see if you like it. If you love it, keep buying it. If you don't, try a
different kind.
Universal Schmetz. Yeah.
Okay. And again, these are dumb questions.
No, dumb question, none.
Which way does the needle go in?
Okay. Do you remember a couple of months ago when we were talking about needles and how to put them in?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Look at your faceplate. Can you see this, Jess? This plate right here? I know you're going to think we're talking about needles. Why are we looking at faceplates? I know. You notice that, let's see, can I take your needle out?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Because you're going to help me put it back in the right way.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Okay, one thing, just to really reiterate. This is going to be in bold, underline. I'm flailing my arms and my legs. Do not over tighten your needle. If you over tighten it, over time, you're going to have to replace that shaft. And as you know, these machines are old enough that shafts are not available. So do not over tighten the needle or it'll cause problems in the long run. Okay, so if you look at, do you mind holding that right there? If you look at your needle, you'll notice that there's a flat spot and a round spot. If you notice your base plate, there's a flat spot and a round spot.
It couldn't be that easy.
It is that easy.
Oh my gosh, I never.
Also,
see, I told you I was a beginner.
See how this is round?
Uh-huh.
See how this is round? See how this is flat? Flat. The flat part goes to the flat part. The round part goes to the round part. You put it in that way. And then you just make sure you get it all the way up into the needle holder. And that's all there is to it. Give it just a snug.
But
and it's
finger
done.
tightening is the best.
Finger tightening is the best.
Cool. Okay.
How easy was that?
That was easy.
Good.
All right, question number 2.
That's number 3, sorry.
What was the first one? I forgot. I'll remember what it was.
That's okay.
Okay. Oh, I know. The reason I was able to get it to sew last night is because it has a bobbin with thread on it already, but I don't, even after looking at the diagrams online, I am not sure how to wind the bobbin.
Okay.
Can you?
Yes, let's do that. So,
Actually, do you want to go ahead and do it? I will run get a bobbin. I'll be right back.
okay, I think I might have one in my,
Oh,
excuse me, 1 second.
that would be faster than me running away to get the bobbin. So if you guys have any questions about your featherweight, Marianne is a great resource, and it's a question I probably need to know the answer to also.
Okay, let me just pull this off. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I've got one that already has some thread on it, so I'm going to pull a lot of the thread off and pretend like this is the spool. So what we're going to do,
Do we need to turn
yeah,
this?
let's tip it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put your bobbin on.
Okay, and you just set it on there. You didn't click anything or?
It has a little tension bar on there to hold the bobbin in place.
Okay.
And make sure it's on there snug and bring it down to the bobbin winder tension. You're going to come over to your stop
Hand wheel.
your hand wheel, which has the stop gap on it. Turn it towards you, which disengages the needle. Make sure you push this down to the belt so that it actually comes in contact with it. And if you already have a spool of thread up here, you're going to take this and let's see. I usually just bring mine up through the
I
thread.
don't have one of those.
That's okay. So
I don't know what they're called, but I don't have one.
yeah, like a
Is it a thread guide, the one
Yeah.
that sticks up above the machine? Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it up through the thread guide right here and just hold on to it.
Okay.
And
Oh, we didn't plug it in.
that's okay. When you bring your thread through, put it through any hole that comes to the outside.
Okay.
And then just hold on to the thread. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you hit the gas, this is going to wind perfectly. If it doesn't, you can always adjust where the positioning of this is so that it winds perfectly. So let's say that you wind it and it's always on the left side.
Uh-huh.
You're going to go ahead and adjust this just a hair so that it will now come to the left and the right side.
Okay, so if we were loading this, the red thread that's already on here,
Yep.
I'd go, oh, okay, which way would I go first? Down?
Nope, you would go ahead and bring it like this,
Through the thread guide,
up through here,
and then around the tension.
and then right through there.
And then use the foot pedal, obviously.
And then
since...
use the foot pedal. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it would be very easy to plug it in. What I'm going to have you do is cut the thread off of this,
Okay.
get it ready to go while I plug yours in.
I was also worried about the cord because it's not a polarized cord. Is that a problem?
No, there's actually no way to really get a polarized cord with this because there are only 2 wires in it. A polarized cord has 3 wires to it.
Okay.
The only reason I know that is I rewired one of my machines and I learned a lot more than I ever wanted to know about wiring.
I told you she was a smart girl.
Well, actually, I'm a very curious person. Okay, let's see.
I hope all of you that know how to run your machines aren't bored by this. And I saw one of your questions that said your machine was loose, your engine was loose on yours. Mine is also, and I was going to ask the machine tech if that's a problem. I can tell just from the date and the design of the type that this is not the original engine or motor or whatever. So I was going to ask about that. So we'll find out and let you know. Okay.
Okay, so basically what you do is
I take my thread,
put it through your
put
bobbin,
it through a hole,
hang on to it
give myself plenty to hang on to,
while you push it on.
push it on.
Okay, we've already made sure that this is in contact with the belt.
Okay, so, and we loosen this,
We
right?
loosen that.
Okay.
And now you just go ahead and push on the gas while you're hanging on to this. Now notice when you hang on to it, it'll break the thread
Whoops!
off. Wow, okay.
That's how much thread we wanted on that needle right there, on that bobbin. We're good.
Okay, so when you take this off, you want to make sure that the tail that you had coming through there is completely cut off. If you leave the tail on there and then put it back in the bobbin, you might get slip stitches, crazy stitches. You might have a lot of problem because it causes a lot of drag on the bobbin as it moves through on the bobbin case. Okay, any questions? You're going to have to help us with this one. Oh, monitor.
Yes, we have Jess behind the camera today. Thanks, Jess.
Yes. Any questions, Jess?
There's that empty hole on top. What is that for?
This one?
Yes.
This is an oiling point. This is the oiling point. This right here is actually used as it's the pressure to the presser foot, and it will help you if you're sewing and you kind of are sewing on a slant. As you adjust this, it'll help you sew straight. This right here is a sewing or an oil port also. Okay. And we'll go over oiling, I think in June. We're going to see if we can do a couple of months of just maintenance. We're going to take it apart, we're going to oil it, we're going to clean it, we're going to do a bunch of stuff.
I volunteer my machine.
Okay.
So I'm very excited to learn how to use this. Just the little bit I did last night, it just sews so nice and straight. And because the foot is so narrow, I thought that might be an issue, but it really helps me sew straighter.
Wonderful.
So I'm really looking forward to getting to use this.
Let's see, somebody asked about the motor.
Yeah, because
If you-
mine's loose also. She said hers was loose.
Okay, there is a screw that is right here. I'm going to unplug this.
Okay, here, I got it.
There's a screw that holds the motor in place. Can you see that?
Let me get in close.
Now, again, be careful as you tighten these screws, because the more you tighten, the more it puts pressure on the grooves of the screw, and you don't want to strip this out. If you strip it out, you're going to need to get a new motor. So be gentle. If it doesn't want to tighten up, take a piece of felt or rabbit fur or something that's going to give you some cushion, put it between the motor and the bracket, and then tighten it to it.
Oh.
And that might help with the looseness. It's important that you do tighten your motor up, because the more you sew, the more loose it's going to get, and it might cause some difficulty, especially the tightness of your belt. You're going to find that as you go through some thicker material, that your wheel is not going to allow it to go through because your belt isn't tight enough. Okay?
Yeah, and I don't sew slowly.
Oh.
So
Okay. There is a reverse on the Featherweight, Joanne.
there is.
Basically, you just push it up like that. That is reverse,
Oh.
and this is forward. To change your stitch length, you're going to move the screw to whatever stitch length you like. So we're going to be working on this stitch length today. Now let's say that you're working on a basting stitch, which is number 6, but you want to go up to a 12, which is what we're going to use to do our block today. And let's say that you're just going to push it up there and you're not going to screw that screw down. Bad idea. Over time, you're just going to find that this is going to migrate down, and before you know it, you're going to be sewing your block with 6 stitches per inch as opposed to 10 to 12.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah.
See, this has been so helpful.
Good. So make sure you use that screw and mark your spot where you want it to be. Anything else?
Oh, good.
Okay.
Laurel, I'm so glad we could help you with the needle questions.
And just so you know, my friend Kenzie out there texted me this morning and said, good luck with your class. Thank you so much. She knows I get a little bit nervous to make sure that I cover all the information to make you guys have a better experience with this.
Okay,
So
well,
thanks.
thank you. Okay, I'm going to move my Featherweight because Marianne has her set up and she has a wonderful presentation for us. But first, I just wanted to show you really quick that this is the block we're doing this month. Thank you, Suzanne. And we're not going to sew every piece of it because much of it is very repetitive, but we will show you some fun tips and tricks. And this block is called, is this the right way up, Jess?
No, other way. Or whatever way Casey's used for it.
Okay, this is called Rope and Anchor. And we just did it in 3 fabrics, but it's really cute in 4 fabrics or more. And I think it's just a beautiful graphic block. And I've got some hints for you all on how to make the pinwheel blocks and how to square them up easier. So I'm going to turn this over to Marianne, and I'm going to be her helper, and then at the end we'll put our block together. And you know this block is available at mygirlfriendsquiltshop.com/featherweight, and you'll be able to find it today. It's probably already on there, isn't it, Jess?
There's a link in the description of the video.
Okay, there's a link in the description of the video so that you can print it out. Okay, take it away.
Okay, you guys, you know how they say that some of the most simple feet are the coolest? Well, I can tell you, I had so much fun with this foot. It's called a shearing foot or a gathering foot. Tell me when to stop.
Yeah, you're good there.
Right there? Okay. Its cousin that came out about 20 years later is also a shearing foot. It's also a low shank. But if you notice, it has a space. Here's the bottom and here's the top, and there's a space right there for material. And I'll show you how to use this one also if you happen to have it in your arsenal of feet. And then the last foot we're going to talk about is a little bit different, but it's the foot that powers your machine, and we're going to talk about that at the very end. So let's kind of look and see what we can make with these feet. First of all, those of you that also do embroidering or sewing that love Kimberbell like I do, you remember these pull flowers? Now in a pinch, and I figured this out, even this one where you actually cut it out, okay, I'm going to show you how to make those today. So I did my pillow, and this literally took me 10 seconds to make. The little flower, little three-dimensional flower on the witch's hat. I made this bag with the little girl, and you can see the gathering on the bottom. And it just added so much texture to it, and it made it fun. And then, of course,
That one's my favorite.
Is that your favorite?
That one's my favorite.
So we're going to learn how to do this gathering, and we're going to learn how to make these flowers. And we're going to talk about all the different mediums that I tried. But I really want you to try different mediums and post it on Facebook so I know what you used and how it worked. Okay? The other thing that you can do with this gathering foot, let's say that this is your towel or whatever. I used my 1/4 inch hammer on the bottom, and then I just attached this right onto it with the gathering foot. And I attached it with the double one. So it attaches and sews right on there.
At the same time?
At the same time. And then I top stitched it over the top. And then, let's see. Oh, the other one that I did, which was a lot of fun, is I took 2 different pieces of material and I did the exact same thing that I just did on this one, but I attached another piece of material to the other side. And I know that there's a lot of bags being made out there with these. And this makes it so, so quick. Okay? So, let's get started. Should I show them the flowers first or after?
Oh, you might as well show them all and then sew.
Okay. So, you all know that I'm already a Kimberbell fan. So I went ahead and stitched this out. And here are some of the flowers that I made. This one is 3/4 inch felt, and it's just regular felt that you would purchase at Kimberbell. I love sewing with their felt. So this one is 3/4 inch, so a little bit lower profile. This one, which is absolutely adorable, is material that's just pinked, so just 100% cotton. That can go on there. You can see how cute this is going to become. This is the organza that many of you got, many of you have, lots of, and it sews a beautiful flower. This is 1 1/4 inch ribbon, and it had some sparklies on it, and I thought it just came out beautiful. What else do we have here? Where's my big orange one? Did I lose it? Oh, it's right here, yeah. It's hiding. So this one is done with 1 1/2" cross grain ribbon. I love working with the cross grain because it's easy to use. And then some of these in here are used with other cross grain. This one is, remind me again, the seam.
Oh, seam binding tape, the
This
silky
is-
kind.
This is seam binding tape, believe it or not. This is organza ribbon. This is just plain old lace. Here's the lace. Okay, so have fun and try a little bit of everything. Okay, did I miss anything at all? Oh, one last thing. This was done by shearing 1 row and then 1/2 inch later shearing again, and I just went back and forth and back and forth, and it is beautiful texture. It's amazing.
It looks like smocking.
It does look like smocking. Now, one thing to note, I did try to put elastic through the bobbin. Don't try it. May I repeat, do not try putting elastic through the bobbin. It really doesn't work with the Featherweight. Some of the other machines that you own, it might work, but it did not work with the Featherweight. Do not use elastic.
You've been warned.
Yes, you've been
You've been
warned.
warned.
Thank you. Okay, so let's use the shearing foot. I'm wondering if I should have, let's see. So when you put this foot on, it's very, very easy. And it just screws right on there.
I'm looking over your shoulder.
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to want a stiff piece of material, any material that's stiff, because what you want to do is put it underneath the needle, hand crank it down to 1 full stitch, and then pull it out. And that's basically just going to put your thread through that eyelet and back. Okay? And then just put it up there for safekeeping. So, most of the stuff that I've done is 16 inches in length and less than 1 inch, except the cross grain, which was 1 1/2 inches. I personally like a different color on the bottom than on the top as far as threads go. That way, if you want to gather it a little bit more, you will know exactly what's the bobbin and what is the upper. Okay? So lower your tension foot, make sure you have a lot of thread out here to hang on, and you'll see why in just a minute. Then, as you sew, it's going to be very, very important that you do not pull the material through, but you're actually going to put your hand back there and let it bunch up behind your hand while you're holding it away from this area.
We do that in Serger Club too, to sure, like that.
Okay.
Putting your finger back behind the foot, and so that the material
gather.
gathers bump up on it. Seems to really help.
It really helps, and plus, as this shears and gets really, really taut, it likes to curl around, and if you happen to catch it with your needle, you will be starting over, and that's not fun. Okay.
And your stitches per inch are?
You're going to go down to 6 on your stitches per inch, and then this is where it gets just a little bit tricky, but play with your tension. I like to just crank it up to 8
When you're shearing.
when I'm shearing, okay? And I've actually been as high as 9. On some of the thinner stuff, I go to about 5. But this is where what you like comes into play. So, as we sew, oh, it would be helpful if I plugged myself in. Hold on. I unplugged so I could plug yours in, Susan. Okay. Can you see how I'm just kind of gathering that in the back? I'm going to turn it up to 9. So this is what we have so far. Okay. I like mine a little bit. I'm going to turn it out to 0, turn it back to 9. If you ever feel like your tension is just not working, don't hesitate to take it all the way to 0, all the way to 9, and then put it where you think it should go.
And I was raised in the generation that you never touched your tension dial, so that's still hard for me.
That's okay. When you are working with your flywheel and moving your needle, you never, never, never turn the flywheel away from you. It's always towards you. If you want to learn how to take a wad of thread out of your bobbin, turn it away from you. If you want to just smooth sailing, turn it towards you. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to sew a couple of these. Let's see, let's do some ribbon.
What's your stitch number?
Number 6. Oh.
So she's got it on a basting stitch, and she's got the tension turned almost as high as it'll go.
Okay, you see how it wants to curl?
That's what
See
you
it?
don't want to do, right?
Well, that's what you want to hang on to, because it will soon get right underneath your needle and you have to start over. So hold it back as you sew. For the flower, you're going to sew right on the end. I'm going to cut it right there so I can show you. Okay, so this is going to be our flower. Oops. And you want to make sure you give it a lot of tail, a lot of thread on the end. Will you hand me those pincher?
These?
Exactly. Now, I don't know if some of you have this type of a tweezer. I know that they have something similar to it.
We also have a locking tweezer that's available online.
Okay, I really like this for the tweezers of any kind for making the flowers, because what you're going to do, you're going to find the end. If you have a right side and a wrong side, you need to determine which one you want in or out. You're going to pinch it with your tweezers, and you're going to hold on to that thread that you made a little bit longer than normal. You're going to gently just wrap this around until you're comfortable with the type of flower that you want. And
Marilyn, on
there you go.
Okay. While she's winding that up, I think in the 1950s, it was a wedding present, or everyone was expected to sew whether they liked it or not. That's why my mother had a little black featherweight, and I'm the only one that ever used it. So I'm not surprised that your machine looks new. Singer did such a great marketing job, and long before it was normal for women to go to work, if you had a sewing machine, then you could do things around your house, but it's just like today. Some people like to do it, some people don't. So you're lucky you have what looks like a brand new 1957 Featherweight.
Okay, should we do some organza? Will you ask them what kind they want to see? What is it that they're interested in?
Do you want to see some of the other flowers that Marianne has made? Anything in particular? I have a question.
Yes.
Did you do the felt ones by hand or on the machine?
On the machine.
So
All of them were made on the
Let's see.
machine.
I can't get in there so you can hear. I'll let you put that.
Okay.
So
this one, I did the exact same thing.
You want to lift it up a bit? There you go.
Okay. So I did the exact same thing. I held on to the end, pinched it just a little bit. Hold on to your threads so they're out of the way. And then you just start coiling it around loosely, because your tweezers are going to hold on to that middle part. So once you get it to where you want it, you just kind of pull that middle part back down while you're pushing the other up, and you get that rolled flower. To finish it off, I pull the middle to the end, take this off.
You want to lift it up again?
Yeah. And then you can take your hot melt glue, glue it, and then what I do is I have like a Teflon, nothing sticks to it. So this is the one that we just did. I glued it. Now I just peel it off, and I can stick it right where I want it.
Here, let's put this over by your sewing machine too.
Okay.
So.
And then you can just stick it right where you want it.
I love that.
Yeah, so this one is a lot of fun. Now, let's say you don't want to do a flower, but you want to do an embellishment. You can go ahead. Okay.
Oh, there was one question before we
Yes.
get past it. They would like to see you use that little piece of fabric to thread the shirring needle again.
Okay.
Because, yeah, if you'll just talk them through that.
Okay. Keep in mind, now, every once in a while, when you bring your hand wheel towards you, it'll pull your thread really close up to the needle. And if you've got your tension on 9, trying to pull some thread through that is hard. Just take your tension, take it back to 0, pull the thread that you need, and then don't be afraid to use that tension knob. Don't let it scare you at all. So then take your stiff piece of material, and it could be a stiff piece of stabilizer. Go ahead, make 1 revolution, so you just have 1 stitch in there. Mine didn't do that. It still didn't want to do it. I think my machine is camera shy. So once it has 1 stitch, you're able to now pull it through the hole. And that's the only thing that this is used for. I use it with all of my attachments because there are quite a few of them that need you to pull it through the attachment. And it looks like I unthreaded my needle.
I don't suppose they ever put a needle threader on a Featherweight.
I wish, because I'll tell you, these machines get better as they get older, and I'm getting in disrepair. I'm having a hard time threading needles and such with my eyesight.
My children bought me a magnifying glass after they saw me trying to thread a needle on my sewing
Oh
machine.
my goodness. That's probably very, very good.
It helps a lot.
Yeah. So usually I don't keep my tails this long, but obviously we're keeping them long so that it'll help with our project. Okay, so if you want to make an embellishment, if you'll hand me some of the, just those embellishment type, some of these.
Oh, the ones you've already shirred.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to make embellishments like this, you can either cut them into to the length that you desire, the width that you desire, or you can tear them. And tearing the material gives you a really neat look. So you can see how cute these are, and they work just beautifully. So let me show you how to do that. Hang on to your tails. We're still at 6. We're still at 9. We're going to move it down a little bit so that I don't get quite the shear. And then we're going to sew right in the middle of your lace.
On my big baby lock machine, that foot is called the gathering foot.
There you go.
And I never realized how simple it was to use.
So this is what 5 on my machine came out to be. It's pretty darn small, but we left long tails so that we could gently just undo it. Oh. Okay, so your tails are going to help you either make it more compact or less compact. A couple of things to keep in mind when you're sewing on a project. Will you hand me the towel? Yeah, that one right there. Do you remember last month when we put the ribbon in the zigzag, went right on it? Well, this time, if I wanted to do the shearing, do you mind, Jess, if we go back to the other? Okay. Might be easier for them to see. When you're doing this project, the important thing you want to remember is to shear more than you think, about 2.5 times the width. So if your towel is 18 inches, you're going to go 2.5 times that, and that's going to give you enough leeway. And then before you sew it on, because if you shear something, let me back up. Let me grab the foot. So this foot right here will only shear one piece of material. And then after you shear it, you'll need to take another foot, and you can take the universal foot or the 1/4 inch foot, but then you need to sew this on afterwards. Does that make sense? Okay, so it will only do one piece of material. The one that has the slit in it will do 2 pieces of material, but only on the edge. So you're going to put your material that you want ruffled on the bottom. So let's go back to the machine, Jess, sorry. Okay. Okay, where'd my little piece go? Okay, so the piece that you want gathered, let's say it's this piece, it goes on the bottom. And the piece that you do not want gathered will go on the top. Do we have a piece of material? I'm making this up as I go along.
Is that enough, or do you want me to find you some?
Oh, I think this will be enough.
Okay.
Now make sure the right sides are together. Okay? So you're going to slide this piece of material through the slot. And you're going to have about 1/8 of an inch difference between the bottom and the top. I like that, so I can kind of figure out where I'm at. I put my needle down, put your presser foot down, and then while you're manipulating the material on the bottom so that you don't sew off, you're going to also watch to see where your top is going to be. Now remember, your bottom's going to ruffle, so don't hang on to it tight. The top is not going to ruffle, so I usually hang on to it with a little bit more firmness, but I lift it up also. So as you sew, and I'm going to take it probably to a 7. This is where evolution does not work, because if evolution worked, I'd have 6 hands by now. So as I'm sewing, the bottom is gathering and the top is just laying itself on top. So let's see what we've got. We had right sides together, but look what it did.
Want to bring it down?
Oh,
There you go.
it came out absolutely beautiful.
That's fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's a one-step process. Remember, your pleater, the one that we talked about several months ago, will actually pleat, and it's more uniform, where this is more of a gather to give it more of kind of a frilly, non-formal look to it. Okay. Any questions?
I don't think so.
Phew, that was a lot of information, you guys.
So fun.
Okay, so I have one more foot to talk about, and that is your sewing machine foot.
Yeah. You guys are going to love this. I've been looking at it for the whole time. So
Okay.
can we come back over here to the table, Jen?
Yeah.
Jess, sorry.
Okay. So here is your featherweight foot, and each one is a little bit different, but I've had so many questions about how do I sew? Do I sew with my bare feet? Do I sew with my shoes? What is this thing for? I understand that there's a lot of questions. The big thing is knowing that there are some models where you cannot replace the foot if you break them. This is a very sensitive piece of equipment. If you open it up, there is like ceramic insulators in there, and if those break because you've dropped it, it will cause problems, and it will probably, you'll have to buy a new foot. The other thing to make sure is feel it. After you've been sewing for an hour or so, if it's hot, you need to replace it. You do not want this to catch fire. You don't want it to melt down. You don't want it to cause problems. These are old machines, and the feet, for most of them, are replaceable, and you can just buy a new foot. On the bottom of the foot, make sure that you have new feet. Those are the grippers. And I don't know about you, but I sew on a carpeted floor, and this just loves to wander. And we had a featherweight group that was here at my girlfriend's quilt shop, and we got together once a month and we brainstormed on issues and problems and how to do this and how to do that. And my friend Diane, I told her about my wandering foot, And she actually introduced me to one of these. And I absolutely love it. Basically, the feet fit right in here, comes down, and now, yes.
So your foot's in the position it would be on other machines, and you're not
Yes.
trying to do that button with your big toe.
There you go.
Oh, that's amazing.
This is absolutely a wonderful tool. It's another type of a foot. If you're having problems with a walking foot, a walking foot, or you're having problems with where to put your feet, because now it turns into more of a gas pedal. Okay, the other thing you might want to try is, instead of putting your foot on it like this, if you have bigger feet, or some of the men actually like to put their foot on it like this. Oops. So backwards. And so like that.
Yeah, that was driving me crazy when I was trying to sew it backwards like that, but this would be an excellent thing.
Yes. This is a nice alternative. And this one, I don't know, will they let me give them the website that I...
Because we don't make them, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't make them, and I don't make any money off of this showing it to you, but it is a wonderful tool. It's on the website fancyquilt.com, and just a wonderful, wonderful tool. And I think it's $20. What a steal. Okay? Any questions about your foot pedal? Please, please be gentle with your foot pedals. Please use foot with fabric insert. Okay, I think we did that. Hi, Becca from Stockton. Let's see. Oh, please, I need that. Toe cramps. I hear you, Joanne. Oh, my goodness. Yes, Diane sells them, and they are wonderful. Okay, anything else that we can help you with? Any questions you have? This one was a lot of information. Just so you know, I know this brings tears to my eyes, but I will not be here with you next month. My husband wants to take a vacation, and I thought it would be a good idea to go with him. Even though I want to be here with you. I really do.
So I guess I'll be here with Suzanne. I'm just going to be the assistant.
There you go. I can leave my machine if you want to sew on it.
Suzanne has what, 4? I'll borrow one of hers.
Oh my goodness.
By then, I'm going to be using my machine. I will.
Okay.
Okay, so we're almost finished. Let's talk about this block for a little bit. Give Marianne's voice a break.
Excellent.
Okay,
Do you want me to set this up so you can sew?
that would be great.
Okay. Oh, let's see. Is white thread okay?
White thread's fine. Okay, this block is the rope and anchor block. Jess, I don't know where to put it. Right there? Okay. And the nice thing is, it's just 2 blocks that you're putting together. We're going to make 4 pinwheels. You can see here. And this is the easiest way to make pinwheels. And then the little barred blocks, we strip piece those. So honestly, except for the one time that I put the pinwheel to one of the pinwheels together backwards, this block took about 20 minutes to make. It's fun, it's easy. As you can see, we did this one with a high contrast, and then Suzanne did the larger one in these beautiful historical fabrics, and unfortunately these are all from her stash. But so you get a really different look depending on what kind of fabrics that you use. So to get started, I cut out the instructions, tell you what to cut. And I have a small block ready to put together, but I'm going to show you on the large block first. So don't get confused because the sizes look so different. To make the pinwheels, it has you cut the, actually it says quarter square triangle. And what it does is it has you cut 2 squares of your dark fabric and 2 squares of your light fabric. You're going to match them up right sides together, 1 light with 1 dark. This is where one of my very favorite notions comes in, is because it's one where you make a line down the middle and then sew a 1/4 inch away. I'm not really good at measuring a 1/4 of an inch on my machine. So I'm using our Quilter's Magic Wand, which is just a tiny bit narrower than a 1/2 of an inch. And there's a line down the middle. I don't know if they can see, but there is a line down the middle, and I'm going to make sure that the line is on both corners. So I don't have to measure it on my mat. I don't have to measure it on a ruler. I'm just going to make sure that my line is on both corners. I'm going to hold it down. And then because these seams won't really show, I used a permanent marking pen to mark them because I wanted a very narrow line. Because you want to sew on this line, you want to make it a scant 1/4 inch. So I'm going to sew on the inside of the line I just drew. So I did that on both sides so that I have a perfect guideline. You could, yeah, they can see that. Yeah, so you can see I'm going to sew on those 2 lines, and then I'm going to cut it apart.
You are ready to go.
So while Marianne's getting her machine ready, so I put both of the dark and light squares together and mark the lines. Okay, are we ready?
I think so.
Okay, so I should have just handed these to you to sew. I have to learn how to use these machines because I love my little one. Okay, so I am just sewing on the line. I'm not having to use a 1/4 inch foot. I'm just going to sew down that line. Okay, I do so fast. And that foot pedal she just talked about is great.
Isn't it amazing?
Oh, that's so much easier. And I broke the thread. How did I do that?
I don't know, but it sounds like to me, I can just hear it. It sounds like the bobbin is loose.
Okay. Oh, I didn't break the thread. It's still threaded.
Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can get the other side. And then I'm just going to flip it over and sew straight down. This, I like the, is this a 1/4 inch foot on this, Marianne?
Yes.
It's so narrow, it makes it really easy to stay on that drawn line.
So one side is a 1/4 inch and the other side is 1/8 of an inch. So it's a great baster.
Yeah, and I want to go right down the center, and I can see all the way to the needle on this foot. So okay, cut that off. So we'll pretend I've done this to both of these. Then I am going to take my rotary cutter and my ruler, and I'm going to cut right between the lines. This line does not have to be straight, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time lining it up. Just make sure you leave a good seam allowance on both sides. So I'll cut all the pieces apart like this. Then I'm going to press them open, and I've got my little iron right here. Did you know that these little Oliso irons now come in other colors, including purple?
Ooh.
That's the one I want. So I'm going to set my seam and then press it to the dark side. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other half of this pair. Oh, yes, we had a couple of issues on the back of that one. Note the loops. So I'll take that apart, but I'll finish showing you how this works.
Do you remember when I told you I think I could hear the bobbin?
Uh-huh.
That's what I could hear.
Okay. So I'll take that apart off camera. You don't need to see me work an unpicker. Okay, so I'm going to take the 2 squares and I'm going to lay them right sides together with the light on top of the dark. No, I'm not. I always do this wrong. Yes, I am. Okay, now. So, and there's a picture in your pattern, which is a nice thing. So I've got both my light squares. I've got my light on top of my dark. And how I can tell I've done this right is I have my seams together. My seams are going the same direction. Okay? Any questions?
Can I interject something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice how on the back, Susan said that there were some loops? I found that if we do not rethread and check the bobbin after we really play with that tension and the stitch length,
Oh, it could do that.
it's going to do that. Because I just redid the bobbin and now everything is working just fine. So make sure that you rethread it, okay?
Okay, so
Thanks, Susan.
thanks. I'm laying both of my half square triangles together and I'm nestling the seams so that the center's the same, and then take my handy dandy magic wand again. And again, I'm going to put that center line right on the points. And this time, because my fabric's so dark, I also brought a friction marker so that I could see the sewing line on the dark blue. So, and I'm marking using both sides, marking both sides of the square. And then I'm going to quickly sew these again. Get it in the right spot. I'm having to learn your foot pedal a little bit here.
It's kind of on the wrong side too, but
No.
you're doing great.
Oh, that's a much better stitch.
Good.
Okay, quick as that. Gonna cut directly behind the line. And if you'll notice, I'm not too worried about making sure that I sewed exactly on the line, because I have another notion that I can't live without to show you. Okay, so now I have a pinwheel. I'm just going to open those up. Actually, I'm not going to open those up.
That is beautiful.
Before I open these up, this is called the Clearly Perfect Slot Trimmer. It works like a block lock, but I'm going to trim up my pinwheels to the size that I need before I open them and iron them. And so it cuts out a step. And here. See all the little lines? This is my trimmer A, which is 1/2 inch because I want to cut. Okay, I brought the wrong trimmer. Okay, to trim to a 5-inch square. This set of trimmers comes in 2 sizes, so I want this on a 5-inch square. So what I'm going to do I'm going to match the dotted lines to my seam line. That's why it didn't matter if I cut straight or if my sewing was a little bit off. There's a line down the center. Let me get this, that I match up with the line from the first row of stitches. And then I'm just going to trim off both edges, and now I'm going to have a perfect square. And what's even better is there are these little slots, so I can go into the 5-inch slot and cut the dog ears off.
Cool.
So now I have a perfect square
Wow.
pinwheel. This is why this was fast, because I have these fun tools. Okay. So I'm just going to press it down. All right, so now that we've shown you how to do these, you're going to end up with 4 by the time you've used all of your fabric. Then for the rail fence blocks, what we've done is just cut the strips according to the pattern. And I sewed one together already. And then also the other gray strip. And sew it a 1/4 inch along here, which I'm not going to take the time to do. You all know what I'm talking about. And you end up with a long strip that looks like this. And then the pattern tells you exactly the size to cut it. And then all we have to do is lay out our block and put it together. It's that simple. These pinwheels really don't take much time at all. Especially with the help of the trimmer and the magic wand. And then you just set it up however you want it. If you set it up like this, you get an arrow. And then you just with your one solid block in the middle, and you're done.
Beautiful.
And this is what you end up with for the smaller size. And then I think this would be fun in the larger size with a little bit bigger prints. And obviously a larger size quilt block makes a quilt faster. So that's about it. This is your free pattern. I'm going to finish sewing this up and give Suzanne back one of her blocks and keep one of them. So, but we want to thank you so much for coming to Featherweight Club today. Does anybody have any questions?
They want to know what the wand is called.
It is called the Magic Wand. And it says Quilter's Magic Wand. It's from, we carry them all the time. And the nicest thing about the one this long is it was easy to do my little 3.5 inch pin half square triangles, but it will also go up to 10 to 12 inches. So you can cut a large block with this also. And the fact that you're sewing on the line instead of having to measure against you know, your 1/4 inch foot or a line on your machine, it really helps me to have a line to sew on. And there was one other notion I wanted to show you. Oh, when you're trimming up your triangles, I mean your pinwheels, I really love using the rotating rulers, the rotating mats, because then I don't worry about cutting myself. I can hold this right here and trim this side, and then move this over to trim this side without having to like cut over myself, because I'm afraid to let it go once I've got it down. So that comes in real handy. And this is another thing that I use a lot when I'm quilting. It's a fairly new notion. It's called diagonal seam tape. And I'll put some on the board so that you can see it. And what it does, it has a center red line and then a 1/4 inch marking on each side. So I could have done my pinwheels just using the tape. Like, for example, if I wanted a 1/4 inch, I would put my on the center line, I would lay the edges of my fabric and then, and then sew down. I'm doing this backwards. I'm really sorry. I don't think and talk well. Okay, so I lined the edge of my fabric on my 1/4 inch. I have my red line, which is the center point of my needle. And then I can just keep this on that line. And as long as I keep that 1/4 inch mark on the red part of the tape, it's another easy way to get a really good 1/4 inch seam and a straight one. And honestly, when I was doing this on my little featherweight last night, because I was not used to the machine, I used both the magic wand and this. It's called Security. But this stuff is great. It's a washi tape notion. You can reuse it and reuse it. You can leave it on your machine all the time. And then there's a ton of it on the roll. So when it starts peeling up, I just pull it up and put it down. But works great for triangles, works great for anywhere where you need a consistent 1/4 inch seam. And I think that's everything we've got today. Suzanne, I know you're watching, so hi. We missed you. And thank you all so much for coming to Featherweight Club. If you have questions that we didn't answer, please let us know. You can add them on to the comments here or email us at info@mygirlfriendsquiltshop.com and we'll get the answers to you. So we hope you have a wonderful day. Of course, it's been 5 minutes, so in Utah it's raining and trying to snow again.
Okay, so show us your projects. We want to see everything. We want to see your blocks. And thank you for spending your morning with us. That was very, very nice of you.
And thanks, Jess, for being our camera person.
Yes.
Okay. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.